Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Let's Play The Great Ace Attorney. Beim letzten Mal haben wir eine neue Theorie aufgestellt. Und zwar eine, die ich ursprünglich ganz am Anfang auch schon, ja, als Scherz in den Raum geworfen habe. Jetzt stellt sie sich irgendwie gerade als richtig heraus, so langsam. Oh Gott, bitte, bitte, gib mir noch irgendeinen kleinen Twist irgendwo. This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Aha. Like a corked wine, the first few sips are bitter enough. Hör doch endlich auf. Woher hast du die ganzen Gläser überhaupt? But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing, saves the gutter. If I may, Lord Vinzix, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened. Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond, but let me start by insisting that you must all familiarize yourselves better with the relative positions of those places being discussed. What? What do you mean by that? What's this angle this time? Yeah, it should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Garrideb household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Ja, schon, das war auch ein Punkt, den ja einer von denen aus der Jury angesprochen hatte. Könnte sie es wirklich so weit geworfen haben? Which means that the distance from the Garrideb's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards. Let me see. 15 yards, das müsste also 13 Meter sein, ha? 14, okay, krass. Fast. 14 Meter. Oh, that's a little farther than I'd imagined. As you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted, it's having potential significance. The fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. Sie ist auch wirklich die Straße hinabgelaufen in die Richtung, ne? Das hat er gesehen, oder? Also Natsume hat das gesehen. Weil sonst hätte ich jetzt behauptet, dass sie vielleicht auf der anderen Straßenseite war vorher, das Buch da gefunden hat, dann die Straße überquert hat und während sie die Straße auf die andere Seite überquert hat, das Messer in den Rücken bekommen hat. Weil ich meine, wenn es das Messer in den Rücken bekommt, müsste sie ja sowieso mit dem Rücken zum Fenster gestanden haben. Da kann sie ja nicht die Straße entlang gelaufen sein. Das mal so ganz am Rande, sonst hätte sie das Messer in den Arm oder so bekommen. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? Another jackknife followed nearly identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back. This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Dann wäre sie halt nicht sofort zusammengebrochen, sondern hätte er das erste Messer in den Rücken bekommen. Hätte so gedacht, aua, das tut ja weh. Dann ist er noch ein paar Schritte gegangen und dann so, oh, das tut ganz schön weh und dann ist umgekippt. Das wäre so meine Idee jetzt gerade. Something I can say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Miss Usato. Serious detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Das lässt dir natürlich nicht gefallen, ne? Maybe let's pick up battles here. Wir müssen noch Hollow Sholmes hier herrufen und Iris natürlich. Vielleicht könnten die noch helfen. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea of a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joanne Garrideb, must be called to testify and submit a cross-examination. Saints alive! Cross-examination of a juror? Ist das überhaupt erlaubt? Order! Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
Was ist denn los mit ihm? Unnecessary. Lord Van Six. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. Ja, vielleicht haben sie das aber nicht gesehen. Sie haben gerade mal Silhouetten von Menschen gesehen, aber vielleicht nicht unbedingt Silhouetten von fliegenden Messern. And we must assume they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Ja, ich weiß, ihr habt nichts gesehen. Yes, sir. Constable Rowley Beat, reporting for duty, sir. Well, good morning, officer. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Ein Monat. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rowley, my hero, you make me swoon. Very well, I hereby reject the defense's request. Oh. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. Ey, das könnte aber auch hilfreich sein, immerhin, von daher vielleicht gar nicht so schlimm. Yes, sir. Vielleicht ist er jetzt sogar endlich mal wach genug, um ein bisschen selbst was auszusagen, ha? Na gut. Seine Augen sind zumindest noch halbwegs offen. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Gary Depp. Believe me, London Bobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Gary Depp house are top-hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out of the window, we would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rowley was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. Hat geschlafen. Didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Hat gesagt, dass geschlafen hat. Das haben wir schon längst geklärt. Well, this is quite startling. Top-hinged casement windows, was bedeutet das? That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. You cannot excuse your sins of drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. Sorry, but... What exactly is a top-hinged casement window? Ja, gut, dass er fragt. Ich bin also nicht nur dumm. Also vielleicht doch. Aber er halt auch, zumindest. And you? You cannot excuse your ignorance of such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Narodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Gary Depp's room. Alright, I'll try. Okay, ja. Man öffnet sie nach oben hin, ne? Gut, das dachte ich mir schon fast. But this is a top-hinged casement window. It swings open along the upper edge, you see. Ja, da könnte man kaum was rauswerfen, ha? So richtig. Zumindest hätte es nicht über die Straße fliegen können. I'm glad you've rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its J. A metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents its opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife were to have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. Das würde aber immer noch nicht meiner neuen Theorie widersprechen, dass ihr das Buch da gefunden habt. Nur es würde dem Messer widersprechen halt. Weiterhin. No. You see the problem then? Good, your education in windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. That can't be. Did you see that, Rowley? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw it crumble before me. Oh, Rowley, you're so strong. Ist er nicht? How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet. And already my argument's been destroyed. Nein, du hast noch mehr Argumente, keine Sorge, ich habe noch eine neue Theorie. So halb. Vielleicht wurde sie dann einfach unten auf der anderen Straßenseite noch von jemand anderem angegriffen. Ich meine, es gibt doch diese 2 Leute, die wir gar nicht bisher vor Gericht gesehen haben. Diesen einen, der auch da unten wohnt. In dem Haus. Der Gedichteschreiber und so. War doch ein Gedichteschreiber, oder? Oder ein Sänger? Ich weiß es nicht. Irgend so ein komischer Typ halt jedenfalls. Und noch irgendeinen anderen gab es. Ich weiß nicht mehr, wer das war. Der ist einfach abgehauen. Von daher, die können auch noch mit drin hängen. Vielleicht. Keine Ahnung. This case is nothing to do with Mr. Ach ja, das hatten wir gerade alles. Ich muss das nicht nochmal alles vorlesen. Klar. Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer. Is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way. Only, I sort of got a little lost on the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Ja, ist auch eine interessante Eigenschaft, klar. Ja, verstehe ich. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. Danke. So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true Bobby is never really off duty, sir. Okay, und wie ist es mit deinen Augen, die du nie davon abgewendet hast? Nothing to report? That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. Hattest du sie offen, während du im Schnee gelegen hast mit deinem Gesicht unten? No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the yard's honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garriap household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burned as well? Ich meine, könnte sein. Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As you can see from the photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? Vielleicht war die Tasche auch einfach voll. There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries of how that knife ended up in her bag and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. I'm so sorry, Mr. Naruto. I had no right to speak out. Nein, alles gut, du hast alles richtig gemacht. Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. We do need testimony from Mrs. Gary Depp. Aber das bekommen wir halt noch nicht. You're right. And then there was Mrs. Gary Depp's reaction to me showing her the knife. The woman's hiding something, I'm sure of it. Sie kann das Messer auf jeden Fall. We'd use this cross-examination to uncover more clues. We'll get to the bottom of this one way or another. Und dann können wir vielleicht noch mal den Richter dazu überreden, dass wir Mrs. Gary Depp befragen dürfen. But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for a lucky star. Sorry? The star that will guide us to eternal happiness. Can it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. Das ist ein guter Punkt, ja. And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. And to Rolly be an inspector, I would have said 3 times at least. Of course, what with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Nein, sie sagen nur, dass kein Buch da reingeflogen ist. Kein brennendes Buch. Das würde also noch nicht meiner Idee mit dem Messer widersprechen. Und dass das Buch halt einfach da unten gelandet ist irgendwo. It certainly seems like they're telling the truth. Then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her. Gut, dann fragen wir noch die anderen Sachen. Ich habe gerade sonst noch nichts, was ich hier großartig, ja, angreifen will. A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. Warum? Hä? Was? There's the noble founding principles of the force written on it, as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. That's what the job's all about. And that is why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobby's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sir. Oh, Raleigh, you're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Raleigh. Warum ist du so männlich geworden plötzlich? Uh-huh. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Gary Depp? I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Wow. Ach so, das meinte er. Ja, gut. Absolutely, sir. I will answer it to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Gary Depp domestic dispute can be related to this case. But before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Okay, yes. I'd very much like you and all you countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London Bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. Ja, ganz sicher werde ich das tun. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. So to that end, sir, I'll be able to lend you my Rowan card for your perusal. Oh, but I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you, I'll try. Okay. Okay, das ist also, ja gut, das hören wir uns gleich an. Wir gucken uns natürlich vorher mal eben das hier ein bisschen an. Principles of Policing. Item 1, a policeman will strive to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Item 2, a patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Okay, Metropolitan Police Regulations. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. Ja. When a crime is discovered on this beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Okay. Und inwiefern soll mir das jetzt weiterhelfen unbedingt? Und warum soll ich da drüber anfangen zu weinen? Ist das alles? Aber vielleicht finden wir noch irgendwas, was uns weiterhilft, I guess. Which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir. They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see? So they're restricted as to how much they open. And therefore anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Ja, auf der anderen Straßenseite halt, klar. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime, on the other side of the rather wide road. Would have been so hard for someone to mention this top-hinged casement thing before. Well, I have another question for you, Constable. What would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mrs. Gary Depp's house is furnished with? Ah, well, sir, it's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday. Okay, warum freust du dich so sehr darüber? Pursue? Bitte? Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beach? Sorry? You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. You really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course, I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. We were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see. Ah, wo ist denn sein Beat? Ist das die Straße? Also die Straße direkt daneben, die keinen Namen hat anscheinend. Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Raleigh Beat and the next one. Is that right, my love? Constable Beat. Bitte aufwachen. Oh, yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants of the Gary household yesterday. The house is on my beat, you see. Deswegen kennst du auch das Fenster. Ah, that really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Gary Depp household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it is as well? Outside Mr. Gary Depp's house? Yes, ma'am. The pavement on the side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think. If the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we would never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. Also hattet ihr ein Motiv, um die Leiche, keine Leiche, ich sag immer Leiche, weil normalerweise habe ich es mit Leichen hier zu tun. Aber ja, er hatte ein Motiv, ihr beide hattet ein Motiv, die auf dem Boden gesunkene Frau auf die andere Straßenseite zu schaffen, bevor es jemandem auffällt. Vielleicht. Extraordinary people, or Bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. Do you know what I think? I think it was a good Lord's way of rewarding my Raleigh for all his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruto. I'll take care of it immediately. Okay, the pavement where the victim was found lies just outside Constable Beat's beat. Beat's beat, ja, ich verstehe, warum er so heißt. The border of which runs down the middle of Briar Road. And now it's my turn, I think. Okay, du willst jetzt wieder fragen, warum ich so viele Fragen stelle. Dann sind wir wohl so langsam fertig hier, hä? Oh, yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. Ja, das tue ich wohl, das ist mein Job. What? I wasn't really, I mean, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. Das wollte ich gar nicht sagen. You might just see me as the wife of the policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you? Yes, Mrs. Beat, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes, the path of least resistance is a sage one. There was a very loud mutter. I heard that. The Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's words count for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but my Raleigh won't. Das hast du schon mal gesagt. What could you possibly be about to say, I wonder? Hoffentlich was Hilfreiches. No, what I saw. My eyes never let me down. My sense of direction is a little off sometimes, though. Das weiß ich. Und das ist alles? Was? Was ist das für eine Aussage? Das bedeutet überhaupt nichts. Mrs. Beat, nobody's questioning what you've told us. I saw it. I did. That evening, I saw it clearly. The little East Side man with the whiskers and the funny curved back, slinking away from the scene. You know what I didn't see as well? Didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky. All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Raleigh. Gets ever so cross. Was hast du dazu zu sagen? Excuse me. Ja, ich rätsel mich einfach so ein bisschen durch. Also ich probiere mich so ein bisschen hier durch, ne? Ich habe keine Ahnung, worauf das alles hinauslaufen wird, aber wird schon funktionieren. Oh no, sir. No problem, sir. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening is all. You mean, Mrs. Speed lost her way on the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. But she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. Thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone in good 15. Das haben wir geklärt. Vielleicht hat sie sich nicht verlaufen, vielleicht hat sie in den 5 Minuten noch irgendwas getan. Ich habe echt das Gefühl, dass sie dafür gesorgt hat, dass dass das Opfer auf der anderen Straßenseite gelandet ist. Ich weiß nicht wie, weil es kann doch nicht sein, weil dann hat jemand ja auch gesehen, wie die Frau vor ihm zusammengebrochen ist. Aber weiß ich nicht. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly. The bouquet? Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about? Oh, it was a present for a wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for it with farthings and pennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds. Yes, oh, romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. And you, my darling? Ah! Oh, yes! But that was just between us. Don't talk about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh. Warum? What was that all about? Warum will er das geheim halten? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. Afraid I can't offer any useful insights, Mr. Naruto. I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet. Yeah, Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please. Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to, aber das solltest du doch nicht. Na gut. Ich freue mich ja darüber, anscheinend. Vielleicht. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. Hold it! Mehr darüber bitte. You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime? Yes, that's right. I was so upset. When I ran over and saw there was a woman with a knife on her back. I was so shocked, I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. It was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice at first. Das ist was Neues. And then, we went to the police box and reported to the policeman whose beat it was on. Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see? That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, it was nowhere near the victim's body at all. Wow. Das ist ja sehr lustig. Ist auch sehr lustig, dass sie keinen guten Orientierungssinn hat und vielleicht nicht bemerkt hat, dass, ja, es die andere Straßenseite war vorher. Also hat er die Leiche woanders hin bewegt, nachdem es passiert war. In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased. I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road. Aber ja, ich sag auch immer, dass sie tot ist, also von daher, ich verstehe schon, warum man damit schnell durcheinander kommt. Your husband, presumably. That's right, silly me, I'd gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm going to blame the bouquet this time. I can't think how it got there, I really can't. The bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Ja, vielleicht. Ich glaube eher nicht. Curious indeed. Hasn't it? But the worst of it is, I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me. That change from the gutter he spent so long collecting. By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this, solitary rose? Dafür musste er Geld sparen. Trotz der Tatsache, dass er seit einem Monat nicht geschlafen hat und nur gearbeitet hat. Ich sehe das Motiv. Absolut. Dass er keinen Bock hat, an dem Abend jetzt auch noch zu arbeiten. Oh, yes, that's it. That's the bouquet Rolly bought before our anniversary. With all bits of change he found in the gutter. Maybe just call it a rose. Tell us, Lord Venzix, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Gary Depp household. Ja, welche Überraschung. In front of the Gary Depp's house. Although it was noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Could I have it back now, please? No, I think for good measure, this road should be added to the court record as evidence. Oh. Ja, auf jeden Fall. But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back. Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Beat. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir. Na gut, ich glaube, wir haben jetzt alles. Kann ich mir vielleicht irgendwo irgendwas präsentieren jetzt, ne? Das wär's halt. The shock of seeing the step victim caused Mrs. Beach to drop the rose where she stood. Gibt's noch irgendwas zu untersuchen, irgendwas Spannendes? Auch nur mit Zeitungspapier umhüllt. Ja, ist tatsächlich eine Blume. Ja, so kann ich wohl nichts gegen argumentieren. Denke ich. An English rose. It's such a beautiful flower. Ah, this is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before. Can you take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naroda? I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know 3 types at least. Wow, 3. Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you'd consider branching out, learning some that aren't tree-based, for example. Aber das hilft mir leider wirklich auch nicht so ganz weiter. Okay, das kann ich mir noch angucken. It's a very stylish paper the flowers wrapped in, isn't it? It's just an old newspaper, Mr. Naroda. Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me. I see. Something wrong? Oh, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake. Ah, Sister-Son, you do love your cakes. Aber dein Kuchen hilft mir nicht weiter, leider. Das ist die Rose, das ist nichts. Das ist irgendein Band, was ich mir gar nicht angucken kann. Ich kann mir nur die Zeitung angucken, die umhüllt ist von dem Band. Na gut. Oder konnte ich mir das hier noch weiter angucken? Also konnte ich... Nee, okay, ich konnte mir das nicht weiter irgendwie untersuchen. Auch das nicht unbedingt hilfreich, denke ich. Weiß nicht, ne? Weiß nicht. Aber ich bräuchte jetzt halt langsam mal irgendwas. So, gehen wir nochmal ganz kurz nur die Kernaussagen durch. Das weiß ich. Would have seen it. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while. Warum hast du dann die Blume nicht bemerkt und warum sich die Blume auf die andere Straßenseite bewegt hat? Vor allem, weil die Blume ja auch nicht hier ist. Und du hast gemeint, dass sich nichts bewegt hat in der ganzen Zeit, nicht wahr? Nichts ist dazugekommen und nichts ist verschwunden. Das wollte ich nicht machen. Bitte? Oh, gut. Musik hört auf. Das ist immer so meine Entwarnung. Von wegen, du hast nichts falsch gemacht. Alles gut. But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In the testimony just now, Mrs. Beach, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Brow Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. Oh, holy shit, hör auf damit, du bist so gemein. Meager? Das ist wirklich nicht nett. What if that were the case? Why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. It's nothing to do with the case. That's why Rolly didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly, it's not only a bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. That's Mrs. Beat's bouquet. That's Mr. Garrideb's book. Mr. Garrideb's copy of The Lion Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife. Would have struck the pane of this casement window and landed here, on the west side of the street. And yet... Ja, gut, wir haben den Fall. It was actually found here on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Jetzt brauchen wir wahrscheinlich noch eine Stunde, um das wirklich beweisen zu können. It's actually found here on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for those things. Unless somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong. Don't you listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. Whittering on about books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is. Oh Gott, Mrs. Garrideb's come around. Dabei ist sie nicht mehr dran mit ihrer Zeugenaussage, die, ja, sie nicht tätigen durfte. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Garrideb. But deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naroda. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it. For a very subtle but compelling reason. Objection! Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend. Who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there's someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. Ich weiß. Es ist der gute Rolly Beat. Ich kann halt echt nachvollziehen, leider. Ich will sie mir nicht zu übel nehmen und so. Aber ein bisschen vielleicht schon. Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat, it was you. What? A policeman? No, Scotland Yard? What nonsense, why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. Nobody works more tirelessly for the people of London. Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about the Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it, as had Rolly aber gesehen. Objection. If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene. Well... Objection! First you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with. But there's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime. To hide something. Ja, das wollte er. Ich weiß auch schon längst was. You've offered no motive. Ja los, kann ich machen. Gib her, gib mir die Möglichkeit, bitte. Das Motiv. Wo... Ja, alles davon irgendwie, ne? Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up. At all costs. What? Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? That's right, yes, if anyone didn't already know. That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe. But in fact, that is where the victim was stabbed at all. I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Japanese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening? Ja, auf der anderen Straßenseite, bist du blöd. Was ist das für eine Frage? Ja, irgendwo hier. Ich weiß nicht, ob genau das Fenster war. But that's on the opposite side of the road. I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Garrett's book fell directly down from the open window above. Your bouquet, Mrs. Beach, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself. Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place. That's right, I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening and already dark. There was a typical London fog on the ground. And he saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid. That was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable B then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. During the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in the print. The victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything in fact to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary! Deswegen liegen die Bücher auch um sie herum, obwohl das gar keinen Sinn ergibt. Weil er sie einfach nur dahin geworfen hat irgendwie. But the constable overlooked one thing. What? What did he overlook? The bouquet, I presume. Exactly. The prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Van Ziek said it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously. Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. So, aber warum? Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Raleigh. It isn't true, is it? What the lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream. A terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. Stimmt, du wolltest auch nicht, dass sie von dem Blumenstrauß, in Anführungszeichen Blumenstrauß, ne, redet. Deswegen wolltest du das nicht. Deswegen sollte sie das geheim halten. Only it seems it wasn't a dream at all. Good. Good golly, er hat's einfach zugegeben vor allem. Nett. Muss mir gar keine Mühe mehr geben. Order, order! What on earth is the meaning of all this? Oh, Raleigh, why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one, too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town. I can't say, sir. What? I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation. For everything. I have a possible explanation for why, on the particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Van Ziek, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. Ja, wohl wahr. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please. Yes, my lord. Now then, heraus. At once, my lord. England, Japan, it makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions. What gives away the motive for Constable Speed's unthinkable actions? Ja, ich würde sagen am ehesten das. Die Regeln oder vielleicht... Nee, okay. Bei der Karte steht es nicht dabei, dann würde ich das hier verwenden. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land. I've only just arrived from Japan. Which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though, Honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example. Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly. For Constable Beat, the day in question was special. Special? How? On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh yes, it was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife. I was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. Yep. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through the man's mind? But sir, just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot of being married to a Bobby like me. Yeah. Oh man. Und wisst ihr, was daran schuld ist? In der ganzen Situation? Richtig. Kapitalismus. Ich hab's gesagt, von Anfang an. This is the one card that Constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, the policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beat. Is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything is that. It's alright. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat. Oh. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat. Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done? It was the first time since I became a copper that I'd ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As it ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. Got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then, it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When the crime's discovered on the beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? Why tonight of all nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So I have to go to the police box that covers it. To turn right along Masham Street and then... Ja. Genau. Was ist passiert? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted... just that one night to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rolly. Just that one night. You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought... well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon. Oh, of course you did. Otherwise, Rolly would have never left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. Ah, I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, Rolly, that was all my fault. I should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly. And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from the one side of the road to the other in total? 4. It was, yes, sir. Definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsumi, and the 4th being the one that fell from the windows upstairs as a garden opposite, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh, the other was scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Oh, well, sir, that's because... that's how I found it. Ja, sie hat das Buch gerade aufgehoben, hat sich gebückt, hat das Messer in den Rücken bekommen und ist da zusammengebrochen. He first ran over to the scene. The victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir. Interesting. The 4th book's information has been updated in the court record. Thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see? There were only the 2 people at the scene. Ben and me both saw it happen. Which way we looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. Didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it. My lord. Yes, Lord Van Siegs. Vielleicht solltet ihr mal die Arbeitsbedingungen von den Bobbys überdenken. Das wäre so mein erster Gedanke hier. Das ist der eigentliche Schuldige, ja? Die Arbeitsbedingungen. Wie gesagt. I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Wie viel hat er ja auch anscheinend verdient, ne? Gar nichts. Diese eine scheiß Blume musste er von Kleingeld, was er ja am Straßenrand aufgesammelt hat, zusammensammeln, das Geld. Genau, ich habe den Satz nicht richtig formuliert, aber ihr wisst, was ich sagen wollte. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir. What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him? For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course. Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. Das ist nicht deine Schuld. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. Alright then, my love. One last thing, Constable. Sir! Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Yes, sir. Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Never again, sir? You mean to say, dass er nicht gefeuert wird, hoffentlich? Leave, now. The trial is not yet over. Wobei es völlig besser finden wäre, wenn er gefeuert werden würde und er sich einen anderen Job suchen könnte. Ich weiß ja nicht. Keine Ahnung. Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Who ever thought of a third party transplantting the entire scene of a crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here, principally. The accused, Mr. Sasuke Natsume, is the only person who could possibly have committed this crime. Nein!
Objection.
Jetzt nicht mehr! No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there's someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Lord Van Zieks, is this true? Komm schon. Ah, very well. Name the person if you will, and a further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. Oh, das ist nett. Das ist sehr nett. Das war was Neues. Ja, Leute, als ob ihr es nicht wisst. Wo ist sie denn? Da.